As you may or may not know, I really like anime and I like cosplay and I like creating outfits and things like that. I do have a playlist you can check out with some of the things that I have put together. And most recently, I've been wanting to make an Itachi cosplay. I have a wig that I think will work. I'm still looking for an Akatsuki cloak, and I also need to have a proper headband because I'm just using the filter right now. But instead of buying a headband on Amazon, I know they're only like $14, but I have enough supplies that I can make it at home for free $99. So that is what you're going to see me doing here. For the headband itself, I'm using an old sash that I took off of a dress. A lot of times when I buy dresses and they have these wraparound sashes, I don't like them, so I just take them off. I always save the sashes just in case I might want to use them for something later, and it turned out that yes, it would be perfect for the headband. However, I needed to make it long enough for it to work and then re-sew everything so that I didn't have any issues with it fraying. The next part was then to take some foam and measure out the part that I wanted for the headband. After that, I drew on the design that I wanted, and then it was time to go ahead and start sealing the foam a little bit. If you just put paint directly on foam, it absorbs and it doesn't look quite right. So what you're really supposed to do is put some layers of Mod Podge. You can also use just regular Elmer's glue. I put a pretty thick layer on because I don't want to spend days and days doing this because you have to wait for each layer to really dry before you can move on to the next. And so I just kind of put a fairly thick layer on, but then I went ahead and used a heat tool that I have to start drying it. And it's very hot outside today. It's about 97 right now. The high is supposed to be almost 100 degrees. And it's perfect to just let this stuff stay outside until it dries. The next step was adding the metal rivets because it's actually kind of a hassle to put metal rivets on if you're not going to make them functional. If they're just going to be decorative, I like to use little googly eyes and just hot glue them on. I glue them down before I put the rest of everything on, or else they don't necessarily stick super well. So hot glue. And then after that, I went ahead and used the hot glue to trace the design because when you have the slash, of course, the actual metal is scored through. But if I'm working from a piece of foam, I don't want to compromise the integrity of the foam by cutting into it. It's such a very thin layer. I don't want to do that. So what I did instead was I'm kind of creating the illusion that it's going to be scored through by building up the design and then creating the score. It doesn't look quite correct, of course, when it is all in this stage, but as I start adding the different layers, it will start to come together. The next thing to add is the Plasti Dip. This also adds another layer of smoothness to it. Again, if I waited longer and put more coats on, it would be very, very smooth, but I kind of want this to have a weathered look to it since it is a missing nin Hitayate, so it works great for me to have it have a little bit of texture here, and then you'll see it all come together once I put the silver on it and add some little acrylic paint for the finishing touches. Since this is still pretty soft, I decided to go ahead and kind of let it dry in a slightly bended shape here. That means when I go ahead and put it against the cloth and then against my forehead, it is going to retain the bended shape, and as I'm tying and untying, it's not going to start cracking the paint too much. So the next day, it was time to go ahead and spray paint silver because the rest of it had pretty much dried. So that's what I went ahead and did here. You can see I'm starting with the back, and you might think, well, we're not going to see the back, so what's the point? But it's just going to help me get the sides as well. And if any little parts peek through, it's going to help it look more authentic. I did not have gloves at this point, but later on I was able to go ahead and find some so that I could continue without getting too much spray paint on my hands. The other thing is too, and I will always tell everybody this, don't get silver when you're trying to paint something silver. It just comes out gray. What you want is chrome. If you can find chrome, it looks so shiny, comes out amazing. Look how incredibly shiny that is after 2 coats of the chrome spray paint here. I just love how it looks. It's going to look just like metal from a distance while being soft and lightweight. And now I'm going to add some details, going over it with acrylic paint until I feel satisfied with the result. I like acrylics because they dry very quickly, and if you make a mistake while it's not dry, you can use a little bit of water and just quickly wash it off. I use some of the darker colors to create depth and dimension. I'm just mixing in the silver with the black for some of these colors, and I pre-mixed the colors just to make it easier to do before I went ahead and started painting here. Remember, because of the way that I drew on the symbol, the slash is going to look like it's indented. Once I put the color on, it's going to be an optical illusion. Obviously, up close, you'll be able to see how I did it, but from a distance, it will look pretty cool. A lot of times when you make cosplay, it's all about making the little details pop from a distance. I let that go ahead and dry. Of course, it took much quicker because it's just the acrylics. And then the next step was attaching the fake metal to the headband. I opted to use Velcro for this because I thought it would be the easiest and most effective way, and then if for any reason I wanted to remove the fake metal part in the future, it wouldn't be too difficult to do that. You'll just see me laying everything out nicely and measuring everything, using scissors to cut it here. I chose a Velcro that has an adhesive back, and that is good for fabrics, as I knew that would work well on both the fabric I used for the headband and for the foam. It was actually a pretty seamless process here. After everything was measured out, all I did was stick it together and I was done. I still have a bit more of the cosplay to go, namely finding an Akatsuki cloak, but I'm really happy with this headband because I can use it for other cosplays in the future. Please enjoy some fun pictures I took while testing how it looks all put together. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.